brain build 2.3 Fatigue and recovery. Causes of fatigue. Fatigue is a depletion of energy sources, and in this part we talk about phosphocreatine and muscle and liver glycogen. The main cause of fatigue is the build-up of waste products such as lactic acid. This inhibits glycolytic enzymes, which are enzymes, and enzymes work at all. If this is changed, the enzymes will denature. This means that the active sites will change shape and the substrate won't be able to fit into the enzyme. Also, if someone is training in high altitude, they will receive a lack of oxygen. This means that less oxygen will be going to the working muscles and no energy. Another cause of fatigue is depletion of energy sources. If an energy source runs out, an athlete will hit a wall, which commonly happens in marathon. Finally, the last cause is neuromuscular. Creatine. This has in the body there is a low natural supply of PT. For the person's sarcoplasm, therefore, is quick to use up. It can be replenished within a game situation. Down is now, a person can almost totally deplete their source of PC after maximum exercise. Sprinters and sharp, high intensity work, like intensities or sports, would use this energy source. So in football, netball, if you're sprinting and then recovering, the length of PT system is 10 seconds. After this, the lactic acid system comes into place, and this is when it's better if you are able to have a longer PT store, then you don't go to lactic acid systems quickly, therefore you won't fatigue as much. If your PC store is depleted, you would have to use the lactic acid system in order to carry on. The larger the store of your PC, the longer you can delay going into the lactic acid system. The byproduct of this is obviously lactic acid, and this causes muscle fatigue. Strategies to increase the supply of creatine. PC supplements can be used as a muscle performance enhancer. It's been suggested to improve short-term power. Taking supplements during training will get better improvement than short-term use. However, it affects the natural production of PT and can cause nausea and muscle cramping. As it improves the PC energy system, it would be useless for a marathon runner as it's a high duration event. Levels of creatine in terms of the Wingate test. If we look at the Wingate test conducted at Brighton Uni and the results we got, we can start to understand why some people may fatigue quicker than others. If we look at the fatigue index of Ellis and Charlie, we can see a huge difference. Charlie has fatigued double the amount Ellis has. If we're going to look at this in terms of the PC system, we would say that Ellis has a larger store of PC in his muscles compared to Charlie, who had less. This would mean that the time Ellis spent reaching max power would be used purely by the ATP and PT system and work less than the lactic acid system than Charlie would have. This would have caused a higher level of fatigue. However, Charlie created a higher peak power output, therefore, with the lesser store of PT, he was able to work at a higher power for a short time, which created a higher peak of power. Glucose and glycogen. Muscle glycogen is the main energy source used during exercise. When depleted, the body starts converting other things such as fat and muscle protein into glucagon. This is called gluconeogenesis. It is in anaerobic and aerobic exercise. If the store is depleted, gluconeogenesis happens. This is a process of fat molecules and muscle protein being converted into glucose and glycogen. Hypoglycemia, which is when there's too much glucose, and then hypoglycemia when there's not enough blood glucose. Muscle glycogen is the main energy source during exercise, and the depletion of these levels is often a leading cause of fatigue and exhaustion in exercise, lasting more than an hour. Distant runners, cyclists, and triathletes who exercise for several hours at a time often practice glycogen loading or carbo loading. Glycogen loading is when the athlete consumes a carbohydrate-rich meal. This day or hours prior to the event. This practice ensures that muscles are full of glycogen and reduce the risk of developing hypoglycemia. As I said before, the strategies are carbo loading. It is a strategy used mainly by endurance athletes such as marathon runners. It is to maximise their storage of glycogen in the muscles and liver. An example of this would be a large pasta dinner before a marathon. However, if the digestive system has not processed this quick enough, then it will increase race day performance. This is because the vascular shunt mechanism needs to still send blood to the stomach instead of the birthing muscles where it is needed most. Carbo loading can increase glycogen stored in the muscles from 25 to 100% of the normal amount. However, this is just in men, as there is not enough research into women. However, there are side effects to this, such as weight gain, digestive discomfort, blood sugar changes, which can all lead to hyperglycemia. Effects of waste products and fatigue. CO2. CO2 is produced within the muscles, and when you work more, the more CO2 you produce. CO2 is a byproduct of cellular respiration in the cells respiration that happen in the mitochondria. Chemoreceptors are able to detect changes in acidity in blood. Therefore, the more CO2 you produce, it will increase the acidity of the blood. If this is not detected, the pH level will affect the enzyme activation. Therefore, chemoreceptors are there to be able to increase or decrease heart rate and breathing rate. It is essential that CO2 is removed. There are three ways it can be removed. The first one is when CO2 is dissolved in the blood plasma. However, only 3% of the CO2 is removed in this way. The next is CO2, and it is taken away from the muscles and attached to hemoglobin. This is called carbaminohemoglobin. The CO2 diffuses across the partially permeable membrane across the concentration gradient of high to low. Once the hemoglobin has associated with CO2, it will be taken to the alveoli where it will diffuse into this across a concentration gradient, and it will be expired out of the body. 23% of CO2 is removed in this way. The main removal of CO2 is through carbonic acid, which is 70% of carbon dioxide, which is removed by this process. Lactic acid. As a waste product of a lactic acid system which uses the anaerobic exercise, lactic acid causes an increase in acidity within the body, which causes a decrease in pH. This causes enzymes within the body which help create energy, such as glycolytic enzymes, to stop working. These cannot convert glycogen into energy, and our bodies are forced to slow down. This also triggers our pain receptors to feel like our muscles are heavy and stiff. If we were to look at an alveolar graph we can see that the workload increases with the likelihood of hitting the lactate threshold, and OVLA increases. If we compare two athletes sprinter OVLA graph and marathon, we see a huge difference. Here you can see the shift from the sprinter's typical lactate performance curve compared to marathon runners. You can see on the graph when an athlete hits the lactate threshold, this is where they would start to feel fatigue and performance would start to slow down, as they would feel the effect of lactic acid. The sprinter would hit this a lot sooner compared to marathon runners, as they work for a short period of time at a high intensity, so they would need the help of lactic acid systems to complete their event. However, a marathon runner would not need this, as it is a low intensity but long duration event. Heat. Only 20% of oxygen consumed during exercise is converted into mechanical work, whereas 80% ends up as waste product of heat. There are three ways our body keeps homeostasis: sweating, hairs on our skin lying flat and standing up, and vasodilation and vasoconstriction. Neuromuscular fatigue. This photo shows a neuromuscular junction where ACH is carried in vesicles. They release ACH or acetylcholine across the sympathetic cleft, where they go to receptors. This then sends an impulse through the muscle fibers. However, if insufficient ACH arrives at the The nerve impulses will not send across the muscle fibers. Impulses will only send if it is above the threshold. If it does not reach the threshold, then muscle contractions will not be able to take place. Once the ACH has done its job, it is needed to be reabsorbed. The enzyme that breaks down this is called coordinase. The problem of this is that there may not be enough of the enzyme to clear ACH, and if it's not cleared from the synaptic cleft, muscle contractions can't happen. If there's too much ACH, then it wouldn't be ready for the next impulse, and therefore will cause fatigue. If there guiding filament theory. The action potential, which is an electrical impulse from the brain, releases acetylcholine, which releases calcium iodide into the sarcomere. This then separates troponin and tropomyosin, which are bonded together. These act as a handbrake, preventing the muscle from moving. The calcium iodide smothers the newly separated troponin. The muscles contract by using ATP and its energy source in order to move. ATPase enzymes breaks the bond of ATP to provide energy for the body. The axon filaments contract to allow this movement. The brain sends an impulse to make the muscle stop contracting, and we send energy to the myosin filaments to make them stop. ATPase enzymes breaks the bond of ATP to provide energy for the body, and the energy is used to stop the myosin filaments from ratcheting. The calcium iodide return to the sarcomere, and the troponin and trymosin would return back to the axon filament. This would stop the myosin from sliding, so the muscle would stop moving. Calcium is needed for the muscle to be able to contract, and as the calcium binds with the trymosin to make the sites available so that the cross-stitch can form. However, tired, fatigued muscles may leak calcium iodide. This is because as the muscles become more fatigued, there is an increase in the contractions of hydrogen, which increases the acidity and decreases the pH. As a result, the decreased calcium that is released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum is decreased. The decrease in calcium weakens the contractions, therefore you lose the ability to generate strong contractions. This decreases the calcium iodide released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum and reduces or weakens muscle contractions. Nerve impulses. There is an increase in the concentration of hydrogen ions, which increases the acidity, which ultimately decreases the pH, causes a decrease in the conduction velocity of muscle fibers. With decreased conduction velocity of muscle fibers, there is a decrease in the peak twitch tension, and corresponding decrease in the firing frequency of muscle contraction. As the muscle fatigues, there is decrease in force and fast twitch fibers. Motor units drop out there. Recovery process. Recovery, restoration, resynthesis and repair. EPOC and oxygen deficit. EPOC stands for post-exercise oxygen consumption. This graph shows submaximal and on the other side maximal EPOC graph. The submaximal shows a steady state, which is the plateau on the graph. The shaded areas show the oxygen deficit. This is a temporary shortage of oxygen during exercise. If our bodies were perfect in the exercise, it would go straight up, straight across and straight down. However, because we do not have the perfect body system, we have to recover what oxygen we have used up. In submaximal exercise, there will be a plateau. This is because there is enough VO2 required for intensity of exercise, for example, a marathon run. The oxygen deficit will be less at submaximal as the system is anaerobic, therefore they are using oxygen while they are exercising. Therefore, ATP will be resynthesized constantly. The shaded area is EPOC. The alactic phase is helping the recovering ATP and PT. It is the amount of O2 oxygen taken to recover and stick PT and ATP back together. epoch is when we recover and remove waste products, as it is a recent